works. All right, everybody, welcome to Saturday morning live stream. Today is going to be a fun day. We have some great guests coming on. So to get started, I'm having some issues with the contest. So it should be working now, hopefully. So if you haven't entered the contest, it should tell you how to do so. So I have a lot of questions to get to today, just a ton of questions. So unfortunately, I'm not going to really monitor the chat too much. So if you have questions in the chat, my moderators will try to answer them. But I got so many questions to get to today. So just try to understand if I don't get to your question, it's not because I'm ignoring you. So without further ado, I'm going to let the two guys in here. We got Carlos and Don from CoralVue. Welcome, guys.
Hey, how are you, man?
Hello.
How's it going?
Good. Thank you for having us on your channel. We're looking forward to it.
Here.
Actually,
I know it's been a what 2 week ask. We had a couple little things going on.
It has. I mean, well, a couple of big things. The hurricane kind of hit our area and kind of put a monkey wrench on things. I know you've experienced that too. So yeah, but we're here, we're safe, and we're just happy to be here, and we're happy that everybody's been incredibly receptive to it and to the new product, and has kept. We love that everybody has kept an open mind, and that's at the end of the day, that's all we ask.
Exactly, and I have the giveaway right here. Look at that, guys. So that was the thing. I was trying to get this, and I couldn't because of the hurricane. And now I got one for everybody. So there you go. And I have one myself. So I've been playing with it all week. I think I got it on Monday or Tuesday, and I was just so flipping busy this week with work. But I really got to try at 4 a.m. one day. I woke up. I was like, I'm going to play with this thing already. And I literally spent like 4 hours in the morning doing it.
Yeah, he's texting me at 6 a.m. in the morning, or was it 5:30 or 6 in the morning, and it's like, what? Who's this? I'm answering. Oh, Derek, you must be trying it now. Okay, answer the questions, go back to sleep.
Yeah, that was the only time I had this week because I wanted to do it before I had you guys on. There goes my camera. I'm having just all kinds of fun going on.
And I appreciate that, because I mean it's been one of those weeks. It's like, I don't know. It's obviously with your work and everything. Anytime you release and you have a project due, it's like the week after and the week before and the week after. It's like they're just hard. It's like you're so busy.
Well, with this release, I'm sure you guys are just having all kinds of stuff, whether good or bad. But my goodness, you guys must be really busy right now. So we'll get started with some of the questions, because I know I don't want to be on here for 3 hours like some other streamers. So try to keep this short and sweet for my viewers. But the first major question I have, this is coming up a lot, so I just want you guys to comment on it. This is more, I think, for Carlos, but a lot of people online are telling me HYDROS is so much cheaper, so much cheaper, so much cheaper. Now, for me, and I don't know if you guys have seen my system, but I have a lot of stuff. I have 3 fish tanks. I have, probably from your competitor, I probably have 20 leak sensors, somewhere in that range. Tons of optical sensors, all kinds of crazy stuff. So what I did was I just did a small calculation, and I did, I wrote down everything I would need if I switched over to HYDROS, and it was extremely more expensive. So I want you guys to kind of just explain a couple things about the expense and the pricing. So one of the things is you guys don't have any modules for sensing, as far as I know. It's just the Control 2 and the Control 4. So if someone had 2 fish tanks, for instance, and they wanted to control both of them, they would essentially have to get 2 brains. Am I mistaken in that statement?
Well, somewhat, because we do have the Sense 4 that is shipping, I believe, now. Which provides 4 additional sense ports, as well as being an alternate brain itself.
Okay. And that sense port will do, I'm assuming, all the sense inputs?
Yes, it will do everything. It'll have the sense inputs, and at the same time, it can actually work as a controller by itself too, or it could be part of the collective, and it has the capability of taking over, controlling the higher system if one of the other devices, the master Wi-Fi device, goes down, for some
Okay.
reason. So we wanted to come up with a controller that was for everyone, and mainly the entry point. We wanted to be able to, for those beginners that they don't want to commit to it, because remember, when you're starting in a hobby or something, at the end of the day, you don't know if you're going to be there for 6 months or not. So do I want
Oh
to
yeah.
spend $600, $800 and not know in the future if I'm going to be around? So spending $200 for the basic kit is a lot more palatable.
Right.
And then you can get and build into it. And of course, if you have a lot of systems, then you get to a point where you're spending the money for it. But I think the redundancies that we have created do add benefits to it, that obviously at the end of the day, you as a consumer, based on your budget and what you think of, what your perspective on things are, it may be something that you can justify, or it may be something that you
Okay.
cannot. Again,
Well,
we can't build a product for everybody.
so I think, yeah, you just kind of hit the nail on the head. So I looked at it as it's system dependent, because if you're like you said, if you're a new or beginner guy and you just want to get into the controllers, it's really reasonably priced, sorry. But, and this is the big but, and this is why I asked the question. For my viewers and me, because I'm a psychopath who has every automation product that's known to man. I mean, I have 2 Reef bots. You name it, I have it. And I just got the HYDROS right, and I'm going to put it on my nano tank, which is sitting right next to me, which I think is perfect. But if I was going to put it on my 300-gallon tank, I would have to buy just a ton of stuff. So I think it's system dependent, and that's kind of what I wanted to explain to my viewers, because a lot of people out there are under the impression that they're going to save a ton of money. And I think they will if it's a smaller system, but can you shed some light if it's a larger system? Can it become expensive? Is it something you guys have thought about? Is it something, I mean, you mentioned the Sense thing. How much that's going to run you yet?
It's gonna be 159 based on what
Okay.
based on that price. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I guess that's my major question is,
Mhm.
could it cost a lot of money, I guess is the real question.
Well, anything can cost a lot of money. I mean,
Yeah.
it all depends on the person. I mean, it's like
Right.
I could purchase a car and soup it up, and it'll cost me a lot of money for it. It
Hmm.
depends on what you want to do and what you want to get out of the system itself.
Right.
At the end of the day, we just wanted to provide customers an option.
Hmm.
But at the end of the day, you as the consumer, you decide what you want.
Hmm.
It's a matter of convenience. If you have
Right.
multiple tanks in multiple locations, then having a system that has something where a collective where all the brains are hooked up together might be something that you want. If you have a tank room where all your systems are together, then
Hmm.
distance may not be such a big deal to you. It all
Right.
depends on what you have.
Exactly, which is what I'm trying to realize. For me, like I said, for me, it's going to be astronomical. So I'm kind of piecing it together to try to get an idea of how I'm going to do it. And I'm going to
Mhm.
go over that in a little bit of how that all works technically. Um, does the SensePort have pH? I've seen a lot of people ask that. I assume it does
No.
not, but
No, it does not. It does not have
okay.
pH. It only has the regular sense ports. It does not have any BNC ports.
Okay, that's kind of what I figured.
Hmm.
So one of the things I noticed when I was using it, and I think we discussed this a little bit this week, is
Hmm.
if it loses communication, if it loses power. Um, I noticed it took. I don't know how long it took. One of the times I didn't get it, but I'm curious if you functionally know how long it takes to get an alert if it loses power. Like if the
Yes, I
whole
know
thing
that.
just dies. I know you guys have a way of getting us information to tell us. Do you have an
Hmm.
idea of how long that takes? Because I'm just curious. That's just a question someone's asked.
Fair question.
Basically, we're using MQTT as our communication protocol between the cloud and the device. And the characteristic of MQTT is that the moment there's a disconnection, you can receive what's called a last will and testament message. I don't know whoever named it that, but so what takes place is as soon as the device disconnects, within 5 or 10 seconds, there's a last will and testament message generated in the Amazon cloud. And that goes into our database. At that point, we wait 10 minutes deliberately. And at the end of 10 minutes, we notify the user that the system is down. Now, when I say 10 minutes, it could actually be anywhere between 10 and 15 because we pull it every 5 minutes. But within 15 minutes at the worst, you'll receive a notification. The reason we slowed it down, actually, was because people were getting too many notifications when their internet went down for 20 seconds and came back again.
Carlos knows.
So
So
we slowed that down deliberately. The other thing I will say is that we introduced a new version of software on the cloud 5 days ago, and it had a problem with notifications, and we didn't catch it for 3 days. And so that has now been fixed. So that may be why
I noticed
you didn't get a
yesterday.
notification.
Yeah, I definitely, after Carlos got back to me on it, I think Carlos did, or maybe it was Jeff, all of that's been rectified. So that's wonderful. And again, people out there that are watching, you have to understand, when a new product comes out, and I do this for a living, I install home automation, home theaters for a living. When a new product comes out, there's firmware that needs to be updated. And that firmware helps fix things that maybe were not caught, or possibly no one ever knew until you plug something in and something weird happened. And it's good to know that you guys are on it, and it was quick. I mean, you guys fixed it, what, in a day? At least for me. So that's really great to know. You know, because some products out there, I'm not going to mention who, have an issue with their app, and then you wait 2 years for them to fix it. You know, that's, you know, it's good that you guys are on it. I think that's really great. So I think this kind of goes hand in hand with what you just said, and that's I think the biggest concern for me is fallback. And I see on your system you have some form of a fallback. I saw something pop up that said fallback. And what I'm asking is if the brain itself lost power, or the controller lost power, what's going to happen, essentially, is my question. What's going to happen if you have 20 things plugged into the power bars? You know, that's my main question.
Okay, so there's 2 ways that we handle this and mitigated this particular environment or this particular problem, and that is by if most likely you have 20 items plugged into the power strips, you probably have multiple controllers you're probably going to have what we call a collective.
Right.
And if one of the items in the collective, one of the brains in the collective falls, loses power, then the other one of the other items or one of the other devices in the collective will automatically notice that, and within 9 seconds pick up the Wi-Fi and everything, commands and everything on, and continue to send them to the Wi-Fi devices. Okay. So this is one of the few things where we've done that we're pretty proud of, is that when you add multiple devices, you're adding redundancies instead of relying on a single brain.
I see. So, okay, let me rephrase it a little bit, because I think this is really what you guys are catering to, which is the 1 or 2 controller person. So what happens if someone has 1 power bar or 2 power bars and 1 controller, and they decide they don't want to spend, money on the other controllers? What would happen? I'll give you a really good case example. We know that you're not supposed to do this, so everyone out there, don't do this. But what if someone plugged their heater into the power bar? Okay, it happens. Someone doesn't want to buy a controller or an Inkbird or whatever, and they just plug it right in. And we lose communication from the brain. What is the power bar going to do? Like, what's going to happen?
At that point, the power bar, the power bar will do the heater on. But at the same time, we are telling you not to do that. The same thing is don't take a shower and try to dry your hair with a hairdryer at the same time.
Right.
So those are things that we've taken a lot of precautions to mitigate that type of situation, but at the same time, sometimes we just can't prevent the user from, unknowingly doing something that all of us at some point in life have learned not to do that.
Right. So I think that's I don't know if it's a big concern, but I'm sure you guys will work on something to to make that better. I think having, and this is just a personal a suggestion, having a power bar with Bluetooth or having a power bar with other capabilities might mitigate that a little bit, because then if it loses Wi-Fi, for instance, it might default to Bluetooth and go okay.
And you know what? That is something that we've taken to heart. I mean, there is let me put it this way, Derek. You've only seen the tip of the iceberg. Okay, but just like anything else, due to competition and everything, we have to be very careful of what we say and what we release, because we don't want to give other people the heads up. But let's just rest assured that in the next couple months, I think you might change your mind, or you will probably change your mind and look at it and say, thank you guys for doing that. We just can't say anything about it at this point.
Totally understand, and I don't expect you to, and I never expect any of my people on the stream to give us. Everyone asks me, what are they coming out with? I'm not asking you. I think it's more of the current state, what people are going to expect if they purchase it. I think that's the main goal today, is the current state, and I don't want to go through, oh, you guys are going to make this, or you guys are going to make, I don't, that's awesome, right? But for now, if someone buys it, what is their experience going to be, is really what I'm getting at, so that people are aware. If they go online and they decide not to do research and find out, well, wait a second, if this loses power, my heater's going to stay on, at least they're prepared. At least they know, hey, maybe I need to get another controller, or maybe I need to do some things for redundancy, and that's very important.
Correct. I mean, and I think that's incredibly important. But I mean, all your viewers are pretty much experts, so
very much so. Yeah.
We so I mean, it's one of those things where we don't have to tell them to create redundancies and all that stuff. I mean, this is
you would hope they would do it anyways after talking
I
to
hope
me.
They would do, exactly, absolutely. So yeah, no, it's something that we've considered, something that we've mitigated. Yes, the truth of the matter is the heater will remain on, but at the same time, if you lose the brain, you will get that notification.
Correct.
Okay, that tells you that something happened. If you were to lose the connection between the brain and the Wi-Fi device, you will get also a notification telling you, hey, I can't see the Wi-Fi device.
Right, which I played with a little bit. Yeah.
Exactly. If you if you stop getting the notification too, we have you lose power, you lose the communication between the house and the internet, then it has nothing to do with that. The controller will still remain.
We're gonna definitely dive into that a little more, because that's my expertise. Definitely, we're gonna dive into that. Just like I said, most of the. Go ahead. I'm sorry, Don.
I was just gonna say one thing I did want to mention. The status that you see on the app is literally coming from the plug strip.
The one that says
telling the plug strip. When it says on,
processing or something, I forgot what it says. I'm sorry.
It'll say off mismatch or on mismatch, which means we have sent a command, but we haven't received an acknowledgement of it yet, so that the app will actually turn red for a few seconds until we've received an acknowledgement.
Do you have, just out of curiosity, do you have a documentation anywhere that tells you what those are, or what those errors might be for the consumer, or is this something we'd have to contact you about? I'm just curious.
No. We are working on the documentation for that, the red state and all that. So, yes, we will put in there's a whole troubleshooting area about
awesome.
Yes,
because that would obviously that'd be helpful for troubleshooting at 2 a.m, or if someone decides to wake up at 4 and bother Carlos in the morning. That's right.
No, trust me, I am also customer support, so my brain thinks in a way that is like, okay, Don, we're gonna do this. How is this going to make more work for me? And if it does, then let's fix it, because I don't want it.
Yeah, for those that don't know out there, I luckily have Carlos on speed dial. Me, luckily. But the rest of the people out there, you got to contact support. You can't contact them 4 in the morning. Don't do that. That's not right. That's really rude, actually. But understand that they have a support channel. They get back to you. That's how you get support. I got lucky.
Yes,
I've been testing it.
Well, you're a Cubs fan too, so you're
Oh,
forgiven.
that's wonderful. Well, there you go, guys. If you become a Cubs fan, you can bother him at 4 in the morning. All right. Anyway, okay, this one was a big one, and I don't know if you'll have an answer for this, but this is a big deal for me. Again, this is going back to common sense, unfortunately. So I played with your power bar, and one of the things I noticed that I really hope you guys come up with a solution for is if you accidentally hit the power button on it and you turn it back on, it turns everything back on. Now, what I notice about that is sometimes it only is on for a second, sometimes it's only on for 20 seconds. Now, if something was on there, let's say an ATO pump, again, these are things people shouldn't be doing, but let's just say someone has an ATO pump on, it's going to turn on for 20 seconds if they were to accidentally hit that power button. So can you comment on that just a little bit?
Well, it should not have been 20 seconds because we pull the power bars every 5 seconds.
Okay.
And if we see something we don't like, we fix it. And so it should be within a maximum of 5 seconds that it returns to where it's supposed to be.
Okay. That was my main question. Is for me, it was, and I know you guys can't control this, but it was like 1 second one time, 1 second, 3. I didn't count it. I'm just curious if that has been a noticed thing that could be potentially hazardous. And again, it comes down to common sense. You don't want to plug in something that's on the ground that's, your pump that's sitting on the ground. You don't want it to, but there's people that do that. There's people that plug in a water mixing station pump into their power bar and turn it on when they need to use it and turn it off when they don't need to use it. It's just,
of course.
And I did notice that as, again, I go back to what I've had for 10 years. You guys know I've had Apex, and you've seen my videos, so it's not a surprise. But again, in Apex world, if it kills power and you plug it back in, it doesn't turn on. So I don't have to worry about that.
Right.
Again, this could be an issue, and I know you guys are aware of it, and that's kind of why I was asking, is do you potentially see that? I'm assuming in a year now you guys have a whole new power bar. I just know it's going to happen. You guys are going to make 8s and 10s and 16. It's going to happen. But that's something I would kind of look into. Just thought I'd mention it.
No, absolutely, absolutely. It should have not taken that long. But but you know what? Everything. That's one thing about this streams is that it's a two-way thing for us. You benefit with with the views and everything, and at the end of the day, we benefit by knowing what you've tested and go back to the drawing board and make it and even make it better.
Oh, don't worry, I'm testing everything because I'm a little insane. Like when I first got my what was the thing I bought? Oh boy, liter meter. I bought a liter meter from SpectraPure. Okay, it's really easy to program, but I started like doing things I shouldn't be doing with it. Sending water 700 feet, doing things because they told me to try it, and I'm like, okay, because they only their office is probably 15 minutes from me. So I said to them, I'm going to try all this stuff, and I'm going to get back to you on it. And look at what they got. They got liter meters that go 75 feet now and work perfectly. But at the beginning, they didn't, and I had to test it. And look at that, So yeah, I'm crazy and I test stuff. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so we talked a little bit about this, and I think this is a very important point, and that is the Bluetooth or the Wi-Fi. So for those that don't know out there, the power bar is Wi-Fi. So if your Wi-Fi, not your internet, were to go out in the house, I presume it will no longer function. Is that accurate assumption? There's nothing else in there that would make it work. There's no Bluetooth. There's no, they're not wired. So,
yes.
Yeah, that is correct. Although, if it's a very big concern, we have a number of people who just put in a dedicated access point for HYDROS. But,
really?
And it's, an access point is $30-$40, and so one really good answer is just to put an access point in your aquarium area,
Mm-hmm.
hardwire it to your main house router,
Right.
put that on your same UPS everything else is on, and you've pretty much guaranteed yourself very high reliability at that point for a
Right.
very low cost.
Exactly. And Don, you bring up a really good point. I have redundancies up the yin yang in my house. I have like 16 battery backups. I got tons of money in my aquariums, so it's very important to me, to have redundancies. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I guess on a cheaper note, a lot of people, and Carlos, I think you mentioned this in Devin's stream or someone's stream, but the routers that you buy from Cox Cable or wherever you are that are router
Mm-hmm.
modem combos, if your
Mm-hmm.
internet goes out, it doesn't necessarily mean your Wi-Fi's out or your network's out. And people have to get the distinction between the two, completely independent things. So if your router was to completely, go bye-bye,
Crap.
then
Mm-hmm.
you are in trouble at that point. You would need some sort of redundancy. Am I mistaken in that assumption?
No, that is correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So that's, in my line of work, I install a lot of networks. So I do see this quite a bit. And modems go out a lot. Routers don't go out really as often, but the router modem combos, guys, I replace them on a consistent basis. So what these guys are saying is if you have a modem router combo, you should get rid of it right away and get a separate router and a separate modem and a completely separate access point just for your HYDROS. And if anybody doesn't understand that, just contact me. I'll explain how you do it. It's really
If
easy.
any, if anything, I mean, it's the we all know that the ISPs, internet service providers, they give you the router, and they get those by the millions,
Oh yeah,
and they
just like
probably
cable
get them
boxes.
cheap. Exactly. So they are cheap. They are unreliable. They're giving you the minimum they can. So if you have one, you should change it, mainly because they're unreliable, and second of all, because you're paying $12-15 a month rental fee
Yes, that's
on
correct.
something that is incredibly unreliable. You're just better off going to Amazon or somewhere else and getting
Mm-hmm.
one for $100, which even that $100 or $50 would be far more reliable than what you have, and then you wouldn't have to pay for it for the 3 years that you have the commitment. So
Right.
for those, I mean, I know your crowd. I don't have that's preaching. That's preaching right there. But if
Right.
any newbie, anybody's watching and all that, yeah, you do your research on that one, and you'll find out that a lot of the ISP routers are not the best quality out there, and often they are
Right.
your bottleneck when it comes to having internet speed that you were promised but you don't get, and it's because of that modem /
That's
router.
100% accurate. And I'm glad you mentioned it because like I said, I install them for a living, and you guys out there might be paying for gig service, but if you really do testing and figure you're really not getting gig service, and if you're getting way less than gig service, I would call them and be like, this is not appropriate. You guys promised me this, and I'm not getting, I put one of those silly things in, and unfortunately, I was getting like 50 or 500 or something. I was like, what the heck? I'm paying extra for this. But anyway, so redundancy, guys, is really important in any controller you buy. And I think the main focus that I'm trying to get to is that what they're selling and what's inside the HYDROS is Wi-Fi. So everything's reliant on the Wi-Fi network in your house. Is that fair to say? I mean, it's reliant on that. If you don't have Wi-Fi,
Yes.
you don't have a system, which is very different, of course, than the one I have, of course. So I just want to mention that.
Right. Right.
I should add though that if you're using a collective, the members of the collective talk to each other over the hardwired bus.
Okay.
And so if you lose Wi-Fi, all you lose is the Wi-Fi power strips. Now maybe that's everything in your case, maybe it isn't. But the collective survives completely the lack of Wi-Fi. And as long as there's one member of the collective that does have access to Wi-Fi, it will control all the power strips.
Okay.
And as you hinted, there will be alternatives very shortly.
Good. That's good to hear, and I have no reason to doubt that. I mean, you understand some of these more techie 500 level things that I'm talking about, and those are things that my viewers are really interested in. So the control bus is a hardwired connection, I presume, but you said it was.
Yes.
And does that use just copper wire? Is it something I could send my Cat 5 through the house to go to another room, for instance, and then maybe convert the connector somehow? Just out of curiosity.
It's basically a twisted pair CAN bus.
Okay.
And we run it at a fairly low speed so that it does have a lot of distance capabilities.
Cool.
One of the things we do, we carry power and data over that connection. And if you're going to run at a long distance, then we actually sell a cable that doesn't carry the power, that only carries the data. Because if you're going to go more than 15 or 20 feet or or something like that, we recommend power on both ends. But yeah, as far as distance goes, it's not going to be an issue. Anything in the low hundreds.
So for me, I have a bunch of wiring in my house, right? Bunch of Cat 5. Will you be selling any type of adapters, or do you currently sell any adapters for someone to maybe plug it into their jack in the wall or something? Is that something that you've thought about?
We haven't actually made an RJ45 adapter, but I think it's a good idea.
I think it is.
We do have a lot of people who have made longer cables just using Cat 5 cable, but we haven't actually made an adapter like you're describing. That's a good idea.
Yeah. So I appreciate it. I think that would be good for people that have pre-wired homes and they want to get multiple aquariums possibly. And that way they can buy, a $300, I think it's $300. I apologize if I'm wrong. A $300 Control 4 controller to get extensions throughout the house without having to worry about Wi-Fi. Let's just say. I mean, I got silly customers that think Wi-Fi fries your brain, so they don't have Wi-Fi in their house. It's all hardwired. I swear to you. So again, this is totally 1 out of a billion, but you get my point.
Yes.
So with that being said, the controllers can then, I want to confirm this, controllers can communicate with each other, not wirelessly if they need to, but the power bars are of course still Wi-Fi. So you would still get notifications, you'd know what's going on, and it would be hardwired at that point, with the exception of connecting to the controller through Wi-Fi. Is that correct?
Yeah,
I think I said it right.
The controllers always talk to each other wired.
Okay.
Over the CAN bus.
And, okay.
Yes.
Yes.
And that's
time where.
Go ahead, Don.
Sorry. The delays. Anyway, yeah, the Wi-Fi basically does two things. It talks to the Wi-Fi plug strips. It talks to the cloud. The cloud is only really needed for reporting and administrative purposes. It has no bearing on running your tank, from day to day or minute to minute.
Mm-hmm.
So if you have no Wi-Fi at all, then you have no camera. Now, if you have no Wi-Fi at all, then you
every 30 minutes. Just be prepared. Every 30 minutes, I got to reset it. I'm not spending $6,000 on a camera. Just not happening. Anyway, sorry. Go ahead.
So if you have no Wi-Fi at all, you're not going to be able to access the system remotely, from your phone or whatever you would want to do. So I'm not going to say you can use the system totally without Wi-Fi, but Wi-Fi is not essential to its day-to-day operation of turning your things on and off.
Okay. Except for a power bar, of course. I just want to.
Except for the power bars.
Okay.
Yes.
Right.
Correct. Because a lot of people have asked me, is the HYDROS, and they want me to test this, is the HYDROS 100% Wi-Fi? And it is. I mean, it really is. Am I mistaken? But you can, from what I'm hearing, you can hardwire it if you feel uncomfortable with Wi-Fi in certain aspects, from what I'm understanding. Because there's a lot of people who hate wireless, and they're worried that if they hook up their Wi-Fi to their aquarium that has $15,000 worth of coral, what's gonna happen, right? That's a big deal that people are mentioning, and it's warranted. I have to agree. I think making a wired power bar in the future might be beneficial for some, not for all, but having that option might be a benefit. Like I said.
Let's just say we're well aware of that.
I kind of figured.
No, we are. The other thing about it is, in touching back upon, what we talked about earlier about losing power to one of the controls. If you were to grab 2 controls and link them via a data-only cable and put a power supply on each control, then if you lose one controller, then automatically the other controller will have its own power supply. It will see that one controller is gone, and it'll take over the Wi-Fi connectivity on the Wi-Fi strips. So there is ways to do redundancy on that as well. So you don't have to have two controllers with power with a single power supply as well.
Okay, so I guess I got confused on one little thing. If you do not have to connect the controllers through the CAN bus, correct? They can be only wireless. Is that right?
Well, yes and no.
Okay.
If you want them to be a collective, they have to be wired.
I see.
The definition, the distinction.
So the redundancy you just spoke about, they would have to have a wire. Is that correct?
It would have the data only wire between them.
Okay.
Now you could have a data and power wire, so that one, for those people that really don't want power supplies and they just want one, then they would use the same power supply on control A and power control B as well. But for those people that are afraid that if you lose the power on one of the controllers, who takes over my Wi-Fi strips, then what I would do is have control A with a power supply, control B with its own power supply, connected to each other with a data only cable, and they would talk to each other. It would create a collective, but at the same time, if you were to lose one of the brains, the other brain will automatically pick up all the slack and continue to run the Wi-Fi strips.
Okay, so I'm probably beating a dead horse, but I'm going to ask again. If I have two control 4s, or a control 4 and a control 2, they are independent systems unless I plug them together. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Okay, I just want to confirm that. So on your app, you would have to connect to them separately, essentially.
Yes.
If they're hardwired, you do not?
That's correct.
Right. If you're hardwired, you connect to the collective. And the collective is a larger entity that basically encompasses all of the inputs and all of the outputs that are all connected together. So if you connect two control 4s, logically you now have a control 8. And all of the inputs can control all of the outputs without regard for which one they're physically connected to.
Okay. So again, I'm trying to avoid this, by the way, but I have to ask because I'm comparing it to what I currently have, and that's how I look at this. And a big thing is modules. Obviously, I have tons of modules. Module for this, module for this, and that's awesome. But they're all hardwired, right? But in my case, if I wanted, I would still have to wire them. In my case, if I was to put a module, or let's say a control 4 here, or a sense module here, because I'm assuming the sense module is the same conversation.
Yeah.
And then my 300. So I'd still have to run wires. Is what I'm getting at. If I wanted it to be one big system.
You do.
Although,
go ahead.
Sorry. For separate tanks, I would not generally recommend creating a collective.
Yeah, a lot of people tell me that
spans multiple systems. Unless they're connected together water-wise, I would not necessarily connect them together as a collective. Now you can, but you don't have to.
So like in my case, I get so much crap about how my system, 3 systems are on one controller, which I get crap from everybody, and
that's the other thing about it is that the difference between us is that if any of the brains were to fail, the other brains would pick up. You see what I'm saying? Each brain has within the collective. If they're part of the collective, any of the brains has the capability of becoming the master brain that controls everything. It's not just if you lose a module, you lose a module. But if you lose the main brain, you lose everything. In our case, if you lose the master brain at that particular time, then the other brains have the capability of becoming master brains and continuing to run your tank.
Okay.
As long as they're part of the collective.
I see. So I got a scenario for you because I think this is what someone had asked in chat about it too. So if I have a tank and then my sump is in a whole nother room, okay, and I want to get temperature from my tank over here, but my controller's at my sump, I would have to run a wire. Is that correct? I just want to make sure. Even if I put a control 2 or sense over here, I need to run a wire to the other one. That's a big question that everyone has. Yes. Everyone's asked me about this. I don't know why, but because there's a lot of talk that everything's wireless on your system, and I want to make sure everyone understands that it is and it isn't depending on your system.
Yes, I mean That is correct. I mean, we've said Wi-Fi. We've always said Wi-Fi, power strips. But if you want to be part of the collective, then we understand that there has to be that wire reliability between the two brains, so that they become, in essence, they become one. But at the same time, each of them is capable of picking it up, just like any type of smart grid, or or Amazon Web Server. You have multiple servers, but they all work together, but they can also back each other up.
Correct. So I really appreciate you guys speaking on this, because this is a big question I get. Is a lot of people, even though you guys don't market it this way, a lot of people for some reason think that everything's wireless, so they can just pop modules everywhere throughout their house and control pH and control. That's not the case unless you want them to be completely separate entities. And I want to just mention that to everybody out there that's asked me. So now I think we have the answer we've been waiting for.
Yeah. I mean, the benefit of that is that if one of the brains loses Wi-Fi but is still working together, let's say something happens in your garage, or you have really bad Wi-Fi signal in your garage, then that brain in the garage will gain access to the internet through the wire and the collective. So
that's beautiful. Yeah.
Those are the things. Or if you have multiple access, you have a mesh, and then you happen to have a control 2 upstairs and a control 4 downstairs, and for some reason the mesh brain upstairs failed, your control 4 is going to provide access to the control 2 upstairs, or vice versa. So we've done, it's not a perfect system, but we've done a lot of work to try to mitigate and minimize when things might go wrong. We know we're not going to get everything. That's just virtually almost
Which
impossible.
I mentioned at the beginning. Anybody that's coming in late, they know all the little things that could, depending on your system, you might need, and they're probably going to make it in the future. But I'm not going to ask them, "Hey, Carlos, are you making a water tester for HYDROS?" Like, I'm not going to ask that. Like, there's no point. On that same subject, this is going to unfortunately be a little bit of a bulk part of the stream, because this is very important, the wireless and wired aspect. I think, Don, if you get that adapter for Cat 5, I think that would be huge for some of us. I can just tell you right now. Distance. Now, you mentioned this in our stream, and I'm just reiterating. Cat 5 has an approximate distance of about 360-ish feet, I think. At least in the networking world. Is that the same with your CAN bus?
Yeah, it is. That's a pretty accurate number for it. I wouldn't have too much trouble with a 500-foot CAN bus.
Okay.
Overall, at that point, you need to start paying some attention to how your bus is physically arranged. Ideally, you would want to have a line as opposed to a star.
Okay.
And have a terminator at each end of the line.
And I don't see many people going 500 feet with it, but hell, I don't see many people going 50 feet with it. But yes. But if you do the 50-foot, Carlos, I think you had mentioned you do need power past that on both sides. Is that correct?
Past 15, we highly recommend
15.
that you go.
15.
15.
Okay.
15, 1.5. Past 1.5, we do highly recommend you switch into a data-only power, and then put the power supply on each end.
Okay. Perfect. I'm just gonna say this question, and you can say yes or no, and we're gonna pass it. Battery backup options in the works. Can you answer that?
Yes.
Okay. That would be sweet.
We've got the best freaking battery backup you ever heard of coming, so I'll just say that much.
Well, there you go, guys. Don just said he has the best battery backup coming.
Thanks a lot, Don. It's like guaranteeing a World Series win.
Yeah. He said it, not me.
Yeah, I know, exactly. The thing about, one of the things that also is we need to make clear is that the Wi-Fi strips and everything, you can still use whatever manufacturers. If you have a pump that has its own backup, and you can still use that yourself. Will we offer something ourselves? Yes, that's something in the works. But right now, just like any other controller, you can use the native backup battery if you do it correctly.
So I was looking at it. You just have a basic DC. I didn't look at the voltage or anything. You got 12-volt power supply to that control 4.
24.
Yeah, I mean, you could pop that into a UPC and it'd probably last for hours.
Yes, correct.
I mean, hours.
Correct.
So, I mean, I got really expensive battery backups here, but if I plug that sucker in there, that thing's going to last for a day. I mean, it
exactly.
is, you know. So if you guys already are using computer backups, technically, you know, I don't recommend it, but it could work, you know. Yep. Just some little things, notifications. So do you have, right now you're doing text and email, I noticed. Can you comment on push notifications through the app?
We don't have them yet. We don't have a specific date for them, but they're certainly on our roadmap.
Okay.
Yeah.
I noticed you have red, orange, and yellow notifications. Those are all customizable. Is that correct? I haven't really played with that yet, but I was just going to ask.
The way it basically works.
Go ahead, Don.
Sorry, we're talking over each other again. Okay. Yeah. I mean, Carlos came up with this system. I had a numeric system that was a lot more complicated, and Carlos made it a lot simpler and better for everyone to use, based on the idea that pretty much everyone who's ever heard of the TSA knows what red, orange, and yellow mean. And Carlos was brilliant to come up with that.
That's pretty common, those colors. Yeah.
Yeah.
In essence, everything that can make an alarm, which could be your pH being high, your temperature being high, an outlet being turned on for too long, turned off for too long. We can get into all the possible alarm conditions later, potentially. You assign them a value of red, orange, or yellow. Okay. Basically, or no alarm at all, depending on how important that thing is. Then, on your notifications preferences, you say anything that is red, orange, or yellow, or however you want to set it up, generates a local audible alarm, generates a text message, or generates an email. By default, most people use email on yellow, text messages on orange, and local alarm on red. Yeah, there we go. That's it right there.
I don't know if I can. Let me see if I can.
It's a little blurry, but yeah.
I'm getting
that's
there.
Good. There you go. You got it. You got it. You got it.
Oh, all right.
All I can say is use red sparingly.
Okay.
If you live with somebody else,
there's my phone number.
Yeah, there you go. If you
don't use it, guys, please. I don't want to get bugged, please. Anyway, sorry.
If you live with somebody else, then you do not want, for every little trivial alarm to get a beeping alarm. So all I can say is please use it sparingly, because it's you can get out of hand with it real quick, For the sake of your flatmates.
So that kind of goes hand in hand with my next question. So I noticed there's three notifications. There's the push, or not the push, the text, the email, and then the local. Now that local is that lights and a sound together. Is that correct?
Yeah, that is correct.
At any point, will those lights be customizable? Possibly. I can see it being. I don't know if you're using LEDs in there. I assume you are. Will there be maybe a point in the future for software? Hey, it's red for this, orange for this, or does it already currently do that? I haven't played with it yet.
There's quite a bit of that going on already, and there will be. All of the LEDs are full RGB capable LEDs. And
one other suggestion is dimmability. I noticed they're quite bright. So my recommendation would be to have a way of dimming them a little bit, if you can. They are very bright. I did notice that. Let's see. So just a couple other things, and Carlos knows this, and I don't know if this is a system-wide issue, but my fonts on my phone. It's very strange because when I go on a browser or an iPad, my app looks perfect. Works great. Love it. I've actually been using the browser now a lot more. I love the browser, by the way. But the app, my fonts are all funky. I don't know if guys saw it on that. And I had mentioned this to, I don't know if this is something that is widespread or known, or my phone. I'm just curious for the viewers out there that get it.
I mean, you have an iPhone. Do you have the bold text settings enabled?
I do not. I checked that, and I actually reduced it just to. There was one that was all funky. Let me show you.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's a phone thing. I don't know if people with Android are experiencing it. I'm just mentioning it because people out there that are just picking up their HYDROS might see this, and I wanted to mention it.
that's the thing is that when it comes to iPhones and Androids, especially with iPhones, there's so many different resolutions and everything. So we run it through lots of simulators and live things, but at the end of the day, like you said you had an iPhone 11 Pro, I think you said that.
I do.
So yeah, so I had an iPhone 11 Pro until about a week ago, and it was fine. But so we're just gonna go back to it and check out what might be the cost. That's that's pretty the honest truth.
Yeah. So again, these are just small things. Again, I don't want you guys to like go crazy with this, but like stuff is cut out on my phone.
Yeah.
Also,
we actually
like
did.
the upload button that comes up here for me on my iPhone 11 is really difficult. Like sometimes I hit it and it doesn't work. And I don't know if it's again my fonts but I just want to mention that in case people get this and they put it on an iPhone 11, just be prepared to monkey with your fonts a little bit, which seems to help. But in the future, I'm sure you guys will. I'm hoping you guys come up with a solution for that because there's a lot of cutoffs in there.
Yeah, no, we are already looking at that. We actually saw the pictures that you sent us, and we're already working on that. So to make it wait. But the one thing about our phone is that our app is if you just rotate the phone landscape, it will automatically change too.
Yes, I did notice that, and it's better landscape, at least for me.
Yes.
So if people out there have an iPhone, just work with it a little bit, but there is some little weird font things that I'm experiencing. So
yeah. On an iPad, it looks pretty badass, as you say. Sorry.
Yes.
Sorry.
No, you can say whatever you want. I put adults only on my streams. Trust me. There's times where I swear, so don't worry. I don't care. Let's get the YouTube guys after me. I don't care. Okay. What was I going to ask about that? Yes, the iPad is fantastic. I don't have any issues with that. So, at least right now. I haven't really played with it too much. So, USB ports. I found this out yesterday, but the people are going to ask. USB ports are on and off, all 4 of them. Is that correct?
That is right.
Correct.
And is there any voltage constraints? I had someone ask me about plugging in specific things. Can you comment on, is there things we should not be plugging into it?
Well, they're 5 volts, and like standard USB, they can supply 150 milliamps. That's really about all I can say. I mean, if you're trying to plug a metal halide light into them, it's likely to not work.
Yeah. Well, I would hope not. I got lots of stuff here, guys. Hopefully, what are we doing? We're about an hour right now, so. No. Third-party support. All right. I have to ask because my viewers request me to. Apex, GHL, other controllers support. Will you or do you currently have any support of integrating into other controllers or other brands of controllers? Or is that not something you're ever going to do? People ask me, so I got to ask. I'll give you an example. Trident. People have a Trident, and they have a base. Okay. They have a Apex EL, and they want their HYDROS to read off of it.
Let's just I get it. I mean, it's like you're having 2 controllers go at it. You mean accessories by third parties? Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. You know what? We are open. We are open, and we're willing to work with other companies. I mean, that's the one thing about CoralVue. We are a distribution company, so we have we've partnered with a lot of other companies, and it's smart for us to open up our controllers to those partners and all the partners that want to be part of it. Will other companies be willing to? I don't know. Maybe yes, maybe no. But we are open.
Okay.
I think I could very.
Go ahead. I'm sorry, Don.
I think I could very confidently say that the day Neptune gives us an API to allow us to access a Trident is the day that we start working on doing so.
Okay.
Yes.
I think Trident was a stretch. Let me give you another example. A lot of people love the GHL dosers. They love them. They think they're great dosers. I mean, I have Neptune dose because I have full Neptune system, and I love my dosers. But a lot of people like the standalone, what's a 4.1 doser that GHL makes. That would be something I can see being a possibility. Because
absolutely,
it's a standalone product that just doses. You don't need a controller with it.
Absolutely, and you know what, we are like Don said, it's like if the companies have an API and are willing to share that with us, then we're more than happy to do it. I mean, one of the examples I can give you is Focustronic Alcatronic. Eric and Jonas over at Focustronic Alcatronic are, we contacted them and they were more than willing to share the API, and we connect wirelessly to the Alcatronic and pull data from the Alcatronic cloud once you authorize us to access your results. So we are willing to and happy to do it. And like Don said, the moment they have an API and we see the benefit to the consumer, we will definitely do that.
Well, you had mentioned, I think, on another stream that Chemours is a conversation right now. That Chemours pumps. I mean, you guys distribute Chemours, so I don't see why it would. That's not a stretch to have those communicate. Definitely. Is there anything you can comment on third party, kind of cool, or something that people should know other than the Alcatronic, which I think is fantastic? Is there anything else that you might want to say or can say that you can control with the HYDROS? Maybe people don't know. Just out of curiosity.
Without getting into specific products, we can do an awful lot with our 0 to 10 volt ins and outs.
That was going to be kind of my next thing about 0 to 10 breakouts and all that stuff. I was curious. A lot of people had asked about that. So you could just comment on how that works, because I really don't. I haven't even looked into it.
Okay. Well, the Control 4 has two connectors, one of which is 0 to 10 volt inputs and one of which is 0 to 10 volt outputs. And the two are quite separate. They can generally be used for different things, but I kind of refer to both of them as the do-it-yourself reports.
Yes.
People that want to hook up their electric guitar amp to their aquarium, or whatever idea they have.
Hey, I might do that. So you don't put it past. Don't give me any ideas, Don. If you give me an idea, I will do it. Ask my guys.
That's the kind of thing that those parts are there for.
Yeah.
So let me talk about the 0 to 10 volt input ports to start with.
Okay.
First of all, they're quite accurate. We went to the trouble of using a good A to D converter on those input ports. So if we're getting 6.23 volts, we're pretty much getting 6.23 volts. That allows them to be used in a lot of different ways, and we have three different modes for the inputs. One is what we call push button mode. In push button mode, they detect a voltage. So suddenly, you set the voltage to say 2 volts. If suddenly 2 volts appears on that port, that mode, whatever you want to call it, is triggered. Actually, we call it an event. And that event lasts for however long you say that event lasts. So say for 15 minutes. So if you want to have a feed mode button, you just hook it up to that 0 to 10 volt input, connect it to ground. When the button is pushed, suddenly there's 0 volts there. That triggers a feed mode. But those buttons can be used to do all kinds of different things. Feed mode is just one minor, example of it. You can push the button to trigger, turn off all my pumps to do a water change. You can push the button to say, turn on all my lights so I can see the tank at night. Whatever you want the buttons to do, they can do with what we call the event mode. The second mode is what we call the switch mode.
Don,
mode,
I'm sorry, Don. Put a second push on the button.
That's right. There's a flag you can set for each of these events.
Okay.
That says the second time you push the button does that. Let's say you set it for 15 minutes, and in 14 minutes you push the button. Depending on how you set that flag, that either restarts the timeout at 15 minutes again, or it ends the event.
Now, is that based on voltage? Is that based on a voltage?
Okay. Yeah. And you can hook a resistive ladder and hook 5 different buttons all up to the same.
And it will know which resistance it is or which voltage it is, and therefore do something different. Exactly. That's kind of neat. Yeah. That's actually really neat.
And you've got 4 of those inputs, 4 independent inputs to do that with.
I see.
There's a lot you can do with those inputs. You can trigger voltages. You can hook them up to switches. And a switch, the main difference with a switch is that It would be used for like a float switch. You hook a float switch up to it, and as long as the float
and that's
switch
usually
is floating,
zero. That's usually in programming language a 0 or a 1. It's usually true or false. Yeah.
Correct.
That's really cool. So I apologize, Don. I'm going to interrupt just to do this in layman's terms. So you have an output which does your standard 0 to 10, lights, pumps, but you also have an input which is very different, which checks for voltage essentially and does something based on that voltage. That's pretty cool. Now on that voltage, since it's so accurate, of course I would have 30 buttons. What is the voltage limitations in terms of difference? So if it's 1.2 to 1.4, will it notice that difference, or is that too close?
For buttons and events, we give you 1 volt resolution.
Okay.
So you can do 10 different levels on each input.
So my 30 buttons would not work.
Level. Well, you've got 4 inputs now, so you could actually.
Oh, there you go. Very cool.
You could do 30 buttons. Very, very, very effectively, you could do 30 buttons. The other mode that's entirely different from all of this is the linear mode or analog mode.
Mm-hmm.
In the analog mode, you take a voltage, and then you can enter a scale factor and a offset for that voltage.
Okay.
So you can tell it that 5 volts means 50 degrees, as an example.
Understand. Yep. That's really cool.
5 volts can mean pH 5. It can mean voltage 5. It can mean alkalinity 5. It can mean
whatever you want it to
5,
mean.
Whatever you want it to mean. And
it's very similar it's very similar in my world. So in Crestron, which is what I program for a living, analogs are the same way. You can make them into a step, true or false. You can make them into a 0 to 100%. You can make them 0 to 50 degrees. You can whatever you want. That's really cool. That's really cool. I got to give you guys props on that. That's really cool.
In fact, we have one of our air testers has hooked a humidity sensor up to it that way.
Yep, I know who that is. Yep, I know who that is. Okay. So just a couple little questions, then we're going to get into the big question. Multi-user support. I noticed there is none. Is that something in the future? And you obviously know why that's important. If someone has their HYDROS and they don't want to touch their tank and they have a service guy come and he wants to get on the app, that makes sense. Any process in that?
We actually have that about halfway developed.
Okay.
Yes.
And it's a pretty interesting system. It actually allows hierarchical groups. So you can say Carlos is allowed to control all of Carlos's tanks. Bob is allowed to control Carlos's and Don's tanks. Fred is allowed to control anything that Bob and George can control. So it's sort of like the hierarchy of a directory structure.
That'll be great. Yeah, that'll be great. That's pretty, honestly, that's pretty standard in most of the controllers. So that's good to hear.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I got so many questions. I don't know if I really don't think I'm going to get to all of them. I'm sorry, guys. I wrote these all down, hoping I get to all of them. I just don't see it happening. Wattage totals for the power bars and for the drive ports. Okay. Can you just kind of, I don't want to get into it big, but can you just mention what those are so people know their limitations so they don't plug a chiller into one of them?
Well, the drive ports on the Control 2s and Control 4s, they're 12 volts, and between the 2 ports you have 1.5 amps.
Okay,
of 12
that's pretty standard.
Available, but each port is limited to 1 amp, so you can have 1 amp on one of them and half an amp on the other, or whatever. So you have 1 amp per port for a total of 1.5 amps. I'm trying to remember exactly what the figure on the power bar is. Let me grab it here real quick. Unless you know offhand, Carlos.
No, I don't.
Modules. I got 3 pages here, guys. If you got till tomorrow, we can do this.
I can't. The weather outside right now is 70 degrees here in Chicago in the middle of November 7th.
Oh, nice.
So it's like,
for those that don't know, I believe the president was just announced, by the way, while we've been doing this. But anyway, we're not going to get into that.
No.
Let's see.
Okay,
What is
power bars?
Okay.
The current power bars are rated at 10 amps for the power bar.
Okay.
And up to 8 amps per outlet, but a 10 amp total on the bar.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, yeah, you're not going to want to plug a heater into that ever. So guys, don't plug a heater into it. I mean,
well, actually,
obviously.
I'm running 2 heaters on mine, but they're not huge heaters.
Okay. But you're also probably standing next to it and testing it 12 hours a day while all these other people are going outside in the 70-degree weather in Chicago. So.
No, I mean that's on my actual system, on my aquarium. That's not on my test systems.
Oh, okay, nice.
Multiple heaters, people. Multiple heaters. Don't ever just use one.
Well, yeah. That again, there's a lot of common sense in this stream, guys. You know, do smart things. You know, they're making a product out there that isn't going to, you know, take a rabbit out of a hat. You know, do smart things. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else on here worth mentioning. So, of course, we have to talk about this, and I waited till the end to talk about it. So, I went ahead yesterday and bought this power bar on Amazon. And it's a Wi-Fi power bar. It does look similar to your, and it does work on the HYDROS. Can you comment on that? Can anyone go on Amazon? This is my main question. Can anyone go on Amazon, buy any Wi-Fi power bar, and will it work with your HYDROS?
Well, I need to qualify the answer to that. There are a lot of power bars that will. There are basically 3 Wi-Fi standards for power bars, and we use the most common one. So if you happen to buy a power bar that is compatible with the same Wi-Fi standard, yes, it will work.
Okay.
To answer the question further, however, when we decided to use Wi-Fi power bars, we actually purchased over 60 different brands and models. Some we brought in from Amazon, some we brought in from China. I mean, I got a whole crate of them in the back of my storeroom here.
Okay.
And we went through and evaluated them further and evaluated them further. And the results were quite frankly shocking, and in a couple cases, literally shocking.
I'm not surprised.
A couple of them. And what I found is that you have power bars that say they're UL certified that aren't, that say they're ETL certified that aren't. There's just a stamp somebody put on there, and that's all it means. Mm-hmm. There's power bars out there that are so poorly designed that I literally had one come close to catching fire on me, and I was only putting like 5 amps through it.
Can you mention which one that is so we don't buy it?
I could probably find it again. I don't know right off the top of my head.
I was messing with you, but you know what I mean.
The problem is a lot of these brands come and go as fast as, you know, they're all made in some obscure factory in some other country, and they don't necessarily correspond to any real brand. At the end of going through all this, we came up with 2 or 3 that actually work and are actually, we only came up with 1 that is truly ETL certified.
Okay.
We came up with another one that claimed to be ETL certified, and we went quite a ways into it before we found out they were lying. But we found one that really is ETL certified, and we contacted ETL and verified it. So that is the one that we are selling, is the one that is really ETL certified. But then we took it a step further, and we found out that there are multiple versions of firmware available within that same protocol. And we found one version of the firmware that has by far the most reliable.
I see.
And so when you're buying the plug strip from us, you're getting what we have found to be the best plug strip out there within that price general range, and the best version of firmware that's out there. Now, if you go to Amazon, I'd say you've got a 70% chance of getting exactly the same thing we sell. You've got a really good shot at getting exactly the same box with the same firmware. But you've also got a pretty good chance at getting a fake box that isn't even made by that company, or a box that has different firmware in it. So, yeah, I mean, it'll work, and you can probably save yourself $10, and in a lot of cases you'll get away with it, but a lot of cases you won't. And so, you know, that's the best answer I can give, is that, you know, we don't build the box. I think that's pretty obvious, and it's a copy of a lot. Oh, it's not a copy; it is what's out there. But
well, I appreciate you saying that, Don, because I think that's the biggest thing out there, is that people want to know. Unfortunately, is is it the same? I mean, really, is it the same? And I think you've kind of mentioned it can be, it might not be. There's so many different ones, is what I'm hearing from you.
Exactly. Yeah.
And yours, I presume, are the same every time. They're the same ones. I'm assuming you test them. I'm hoping. That's the assumption, and you know they're the same ones, which is that's a big deal, of course. Yeah, I do. I definitely really appreciate you saying that, because that's going to clear some stupid stuff going on. Let's see what else on kind of on the same breath. This is kind of a silly question someone asked, but I'm going to bring it up. Warranty wise, if you buy a product on Amazon, you're not going to warranty it. Am I stupid in saying that? I mean, will it cause damage to the controller? I doubt it, but I'm going to ask.
No, I don't see any way that a Wi-Fi device is going to damage the controller. It might not work. It might.
But there's no way that the Wi-Fi control, the power bar will not send some weird code to the HYDROS and say, "Screw you, I'm killing all your programming." Like that, no, I don't see that happening. Okay. No. Sorry, I'm a little disorganized this morning. Kind of on the same thing. Warranty. I think warranty is a big one. Waterproof. So I started looking at it. I'm not going to dump it in water, but there is a claim out there, and I don't know if it's from you or your site. I haven't looked. That your unit is waterproof. Now, not the power bar, but the controller. Can you speak on that? Is it really waterproof? Will you warranty if it gets water in it? Can you kind of comment on that just a tad?
Yeah. Go ahead, Dan. No, go ahead.
Well, I can tell you the case and the connectors are rated IP65.
Okay.
Which is splash proof. It's not submersible.
Splash proof. It's not waterproof.
Okay. So I guess that answers the question. If someone got water in their unit, you would essentially not warranty it like any other company, or you would say, hey, you caused water damage to this, so we can't warranty it. Is that correct?
I think that would end up getting answered on a case-by-case basis. Carlos can speak to warranty a lot better than I can.
Yeah. It's a warranty is in a case-by-case basis. It depends on how the damage was done and so forth. So we can't just generalize on it. What we can tell you is that it is, it's IP65 rated, so it's not waterproof. You can't just grab it and dunk it in the tank and take it out. It's not gonna, that I can tell you is not warranty. But what we claim is that everything, the connectors and the casing are IP65 rating. So it's based on that IP and on that scale.
Yeah, so someone's mentioning this. Again, I don't want to get into a rabbit hole with this discussion, but someone had asked about holes being drilled into it, causing it to no longer be IP65. I don't know anything about IP65. I'm a computer programmer, so I'm asking them. For you, because you're my viewer, does that have anything to do with IP65 drilling holes into it? I don't know, so I'm just asking.
Well, obviously, if you drill a hole in the case, then you're admitting water through that hole. However, all of our connectors are also rated at IP65, and so they are designed to go through the size of hole that they're going through. I think people can get kind of wrapped around the axle on the exact detail of the IP rating. The point is that we have attempted to the greatest degree possible to make the unit water resistant, because it has to live in a saltwater rich environment.
Exactly. That's the reasoning for my question.
Water. Yeah. And we look at a lot of the other products that are being sold into the aquarium business with things like USB connectors and RJ45 connectors on them. And those connectors were never designed to endure any sort of weather or harsh environment. Are our devices totally waterproof? No, but we have done everything possible to make them as water resistant and as splash proof as possible.
Okay.
Now, I actually have dumped the Control 4 into water and pulled it back out, and it was fine.
I would do that. If you told me I can do it, I'll do it. but
that's
I'm
not
not going to do it
recommended
otherwise.
practice, but I have done it,
Yeah.
But then I got boxes of them. Some of them
Yeah.
are old prototypes that I
I
don't care
hope you
about.
do.
Um,
I mean, you engineered it, right? I hope you have them.
yeah, I got lots of them. But I did try it, and it did okay. I mean, I didn't get any water inside of it, and I had it submerged for 30 seconds. But would that
Who's going to
happen next
submerge?
time?
Yeah. Who's going to submerge their controller in for more than 5 seconds?
Yeah.
No one.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, guys, you guys have seen my system. I don't know if Carlos and Don have, but all of my controllers are up very high and away from my water. So that's the best practice, regardless what controller you have or what product you have. But I do have to ask because there's been a lot of, blah, blah, blah about yours being waterproof. So that's why I wanted to talk about this. Because I don't, after doing my own research, I find that not to be the case. And I appreciate you guys mentioning that it's not waterproof because that's important for people to understand.
Correct.
Let me look at this other one. So, guys, by the way, and Carlos, I want you to speak on this. I bought the HYDROS, right, with my own money, full price, no discount. I bought 2 of them, one for the giveaway and one for myself. And I want everyone that's watching to know that because I think it's important. Because I am going to do a review. I'm hoping to do it on Monday, and I'm hoping to beat some other YouTubers out there that are probably watching to that review.
Devin.
I didn't say anything. Let's see. So, yeah, I don't want to beat a dead horse on this. Is your controller, not your controller, I apologize. The power strips you sell, I saw there's a couple different ones. Are you selling different ones? Are they all this based on Don, what you just said? Are they all to that same standard we talked about? I presume they are, where you tested them. And if someone sees one that looks exactly the same, is it the same? I'm going to ask you because there's a couple different ones I see you selling. So are you still selling all those different ones?
There's been 2 models of quad plug strips that we have sold.
Okay.
Well, I won't say sold. We prototyped a few of a different one, and a few of our beta test customers have them. And if they have gotten out in the field, it's been totally due to a mistake. They shouldn't be. The ones that are officially part of the system are the square ones. Would be the best way to describe it.
Okay.
The other ones were sold to us as being ETL certified, and then we found out they weren't, and so we have pulled them.
Okay.
But I'm not going to.
That was my question.
A few of them that could have gotten out there.
Yeah, because that's my question. I see you have a couple different ones, so I just wanted to talk on it just a tad. To the waterproofing one more time, someone had just asked. This is kind of important because I noticed this in a lot of our hobby. You have a lot of metal on your product. Rust proofing, because I only asked that because I love how everything looks in my tank. If you guys have ever seen it, I got everything zip tied. If I got rust on a connector, it's kind of gonna. I'm very OCD. It's gonna kind of annoy me. Can you comment on that just a tad? Just say, hey, what's your thoughts on that?
Well, the connectors are nickel-plated brass. The metal in the connectors.
Okay.
So they're not going to rust because brass doesn't rust, but it can corrode.
Okay.
Which is a different process. It's a surface process, and that's why they're screwed on and sealed, so that the contacts are never exposed to the human environment. But I'm not going to say that the bodies of the connectors are not going to corrode, because they will eventually.
Okay.
Which is basically going to mean they're not going to be shiny anymore. They're going to be a dull finish, but they should not.
Yeah, like I said, I don't want to go crazy with this. It was more, again, just a yes or no question, but I appreciate you explaining that to me, Don. For those that don't know, I want to mention this. This is funny. I've seen this in the chat. I sell Crestron for a living, and their competitor is Control 4. I don't know if you guys know that. So every time I mention Control 4, it's like, oh. Even though, because when you first came out with it, maybe, I don't remember when you announced it. It was probably last year, right? And it was called Control 4. Everybody would comment on it. They go, what do you think of that new Control 4? And I'd be like, I hate Control 4. But yeah, I thought that was funny. Someone had mentioned that in the stream. There was one other good question I had here. Local mode. That's a really good question. So I noticed on my app, I have to manually switch to Bluetooth if it loses Wi-Fi. Is that something you guys are working on, maybe for an automatic switch? Possibly, you know what I'm talking about? When you're on the app, it won't just find it. You have to switch to Bluetooth. Because if you're out, if you're out on the road, for instance, obviously it's not going to connect. You're going to be like, I don't know what I'm doing. But if you're at home, it's not connecting. It's kind of a good way to know, hey, your Wi-Fi is not working, or hey, it's not connected to Wi-Fi. You know what I'm saying? I'm just curious.
That's not anything we've ever given any real thought to.
Okay. I think an automatic switch would be nice. I think Alcatronic does that. I think if their product is not on the Wi-Fi, it just manually switches to Bluetooth automatically. I can't comment on that, but I think it does.
I don't think it does.
It does not? Okay.
I don't think it does. I don't think it does. But you know what? This is something that I'm writing down in here. I have a list of stuff that you've touched upon, and I'm writing it down myself. So
I'm trying. Yeah, I'm trying to keep it all short, but get to them all. And that was something someone had brought up. I think that's good. Yeah. So the last question, guys, before we do the contest. Again, this is what I'm giving away: a full starter kit. It comes with everything you need to get started. I paid for it out of my own money. Carlos is standing. It's not standing. He's on the other window there, saying I didn't get it from him. Just
yes, he did not. He paid for it full price.
I also got one of these, by the way.
The hurricane too.
That's right. I also got one of these, which I find to be really cool. I just wanted people to see it. This is one of the products that I really like. One thing I also didn't mention is I really like the fact that you can tighten the connectors. I really like that a lot. Yes. One of the things about my controller, and I've spoke to them about this, is there's no way to kind of tighten the connector, and they come loose. They come loose pretty easily, honestly, sometimes when you're moving around. And again, I'm tinkering all the time. So having this, a nice tight screw-on connector, I give you guys kudos. I really like that. But here's the leak sensor. And what I also like about the leak sensor that people might not know is you can extend it. So if you don't like the distance here, you can just plug a bunch of them in and extend it. That's pretty cool.
Exactly.
I don't recommend going over 50, though.
Over 50 feet? Or 50 of them?
50 cables.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So my last question, which I ask everybody that's on my stream before we give away, is what makes your new HYDROS better than the rest? What is it for anyone out there looking at controllers? Why should they get a HYDROS? That's my question.
Yeah. We wanted to create something that was easier to use. And I think, Derek, you spoke about this earlier today, and I hope I can quote you. I can say this. You're looking at doing tutorial videos, and then you're telling me, it's like, I don't know if I need to, or I need to get into much detail on them. So we wanted to create something that was useful, that was easy to use, and mainly we just wanted to give consumers an option. That's it. Will consumers, will every consumer like our product? It all depends on what it is. What's the best controller for you, for the masses? Well, you make that decision. For you, if you like wires, if you like everything together, then maybe the other controller is. If you are, a smaller tank, maybe our controller is best for you. So we only offer an option, and we want the consumer to make that decision themselves. What is best for you? What is best for you based on your budget, based on your needs? You're the only one that can really answer that question. All we can do is give you the best product that we can give you a viable option, and something that we ourselves would use in our systems. And I can tell you this, it's like we would never sell you something that we don't use in our system right now. We haven't.
That's most important.
It needs to be said, though, because it does, sometimes we take it for granted. But yeah, all we want is, what is best. We just do, we want to do what we do easy, the 3-step mode. If it takes more than 3 steps, it's wrong. And then, and you make the decision, whatever is easiest for you. At the end of the day, you're the one.
I want to comment real quick on what you said, and I really appreciate what you said, Carlos, by the way. I have to ask one thing. What's one thing you can say about your product? One thing, don't have to go crazy, that's better than someone else. Just one thing. What's something you are really happy about that your product has that no one else has? Can you say that? I always ask this to everyone, by the way, so I'm
Yeah.
not just grilling you, I promise.
No. No, that's a
I
we
think my answer would be the
want we
collective.
no. What is it? I would say the collective. The collective.
Okay. And I want to confirm, so I understand what the collective is.
Yes.
That's the hardwired connection between other products, essentially, or your products. Is that right? Did I say that right?
No, it's where you can use multiple the multiple brains working together as one, and if one fails, they can the rest of them can pick it up. So there's, you're not basing everything into a single brain that if it goes down or loses power, you're out. If one brain loses, the rest of them pick it up.
Okay.
I think
How about you, Don?
The other major characteristic. Well, I was
Oh,
going to say
don't
the other
lose
major
me.
characteristic of.
I see you, Carlos.
Am I? Do you see me? Yeah,
I see everyone. I see Carlos.
Okay.
He's there. He's there,
Okay,
man.
good. It just got kind of slow.
Yeah,
No,
he's there.
Sorry.
Yeah. This is new software, so I got people calling me nonstop. They don't realize I'm still doing this. Anyway, people that are on the stream calling me. Anyway.
Well,
sorry.
Don, you were saying.
The biggest thing about the collective, besides the fault tolerance, is the fact that it becomes a virtual single unit. So you can hook your temperature probe up to unit A or your pH probe up to unit A and have outputs that are on unit B based on those inputs. You can do OR conditions of basically all of the inputs become as if they were local, and all of the outputs become as if they were local. You don't really have to concern yourself with which unit they're physically on.
Okay. Well, I think that definitely explains what you guys are offering in comparison. Because I think I don't know much about the collective. I'm going to do some research after this. This is my first product, I am assuming, that has the collective is the HYDROS, because I've not seen the Wave Engine or some of the other products you guys have. So, all right, guys. Before we do the contest, thank you so much. I really appreciate this. I know this has been an interesting week for sure, and the hurricane, and I've been watching the election and all kinds of crazy stuff happening, and I appreciate you taking the time with me and answering all the real technical stuff, because that's what my viewers are definitely looking for. So you answered a lot of really important points that I think people are going to get a benefit out of, and now they have an idea of what you guys are selling, which is fantastic. So again, thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. I am actually humbled. I'm humbled that you guys came on my stream. I'm still new to this, and I really appreciate it.
We love it. We thank you so much for giving us the opportunity, and thanks a lot to the viewers for being so open, and at least just giving us a chance, to look at it first. Look at it, see if you like it. If you don't like it, then that's okay. We're not going to take it personally. We have a lot of things coming down the pipeline, and you know what? You may not like it today, but 2 months from now, maybe you will. So
everyone starts out slow. Every new product starts out slow, and I totally, that's why my review on Monday is going to reflect, the future and the present. What I see, what I like now, what you guys can work on. That's what my reviews, and everyone expects that from me. They expect me to tell them what we have now and some suggestions, and I've already said them in the stream. But I'm really happy with what I have so far. So I think it's going to be great.
And then just give me a couple hours with I actually have how to create a collective instructions on the website, but I haven't made them live.
Oh, wonderful.
But once you have the collective instructions of how to create it, after that you treat the collective just like you do any other device.
Okay.
It doesn't change anything.
So it doesn't appear to, based on what you said earlier. It seems like it's just seamless.
Yeah. It's seamless. You treat it the same way as if you had one controller or two controllers. It's just you have to do a couple of extra steps to create a collective, and I will have those instructions to you soon. So FYI, if you look for them right now, they won't be there, but they will be there by the end of the day.
Fantastic,
hand,
Carlos.
if you give away the other control 4, you won't have 2 devices to make a collective lift.
Absolutely.
Well, Don, you're gonna now you lost the entire stream. I'm just letting you know you lost everything. Do you know that probably we have 107 people in here today. My
That's
largest
awesome.
my largest stream has probably been 50. So this is double the people. So the first 50 people are only here for the contest. So just know that right off the bat. You lost 50 people, Don.
Oh God.
Anyway,
Oh God. That's funny.
All right, so we got 68 people that entered the contest. This is crazy, guys. Absolutely crazy. So remember, the winner, for those that don't know the rules, the winner, if you do not live in the United States, you have to pay for shipping for this thing. I don't even know if it works outside the United States. I presume it does, but I'm giving it away.
You know what? The control itself, the power supply is both 110 and 220. The power strips, we are in the process of vetting, the other ones so that it'll come soon.
Okay. So yeah, if you're not in the United States, plan to pay me money. If you are in the United States, free shipping, guys. And again, just to show you for some of the people, it's a Control 4, comes with the brain, power supply, pH probe, temperature probe, anything else. That's it, right?
Outlets.
Yes.
Did I say that? Yeah. Power bar, four port power bar, temperature probe, pH probe, and the controller.
Yeah, and the pH probes are pinpoint.
That's correct.
We wanted to, this is something that we've been doing for 3 years, and we've tested a lot of probes, and we come down to the decision, what's best for the customer? Let's just go with pinpoint.
Okay. Yeah, I have a couple pinpoint things. They make some good stuff. Okay, so here we go. For those that are new, I just push a button and it picks a winner. So the winner of today's contest has to be here. Lovely one. Whoever Lovely One is, you are the winner of today's contest.
Yay.
So say something. Yay. You have a minute.
Yeah,
we're already going over an hour and 45 minutes. And Carlos wants to go outside. It's 75 in Chicago, which, by the way, only happens once every 10 years. So he's going to go outside.
Especially November 7th. I don't see Lovely yet. I'm looking at the stream right here.
I know.
Oh, it's everybody. I am Spartacus.
Of course.
Oh, this is funny.
So Rookie Reefer, I want to mention this because he just mentioned something. I pay for this out of my own money. I make a pretty decent living, so I'm able to do so.
It's right there. I just saw her. Yep, Lovely One is right there.
There you are.
Sorry.
So to Rookie Reefer, it's like charity to me. I think it's honestly that's what it's like. Giving people things that they might not be able to afford to get into automation. I think is a big deal. That's just me. So Lovely One, I don't know who you are.
Pay it forward, man. Pay it forward.
But you will have to prove who you are somehow. Message me on Facebook. That's how we do this. If you don't have Facebook, then find a friend, phone a friend, and we'll get this shipped out to you. So thank you so much, guys, again. I really appreciate it. And we used new software today, and it didn't glitch. So that's good.
Yeah, that's good.
Seemed to work well.
So
you went well. There you go.
Yeah. So thanks, guys. You guys have a great day.
Thank you, everybody. Have a